This is the Ben Herman Show.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Ben Herman Show. I've got another awesome guest. We're here at Mobile Entertainment Expo 2024, also photo booth expo here at the South Point Casino and Hotel here in Las Vegas. And we've got none other than our man, DJ Cova, who is the editing king. I'm just going to call him editing king. We got to talk a little bit, and he's presenting. You're presenting tomorrow, right?
Yes, I am.
That's awesome. Well, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Big
Absolutely.
fan of your work, guys. You're ProfitableDJ. Love the stuff you guys are doing.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. So tell me a little bit about, before we get into the edits and stuff, which is all about, DJs cleaning up their edits, or maybe they have never even attempted to create an edit in the first place, and maybe you'll give some tips around that in just a little bit. But I'd love to find out your origin story. Like, where did you get started as a DJ in the first place? What inspired you to get started?
So I'm an immigrant of Chilean parents, and my dad was like an unofficial DJ of the family.
Oh, really?
So we
Yeah.
do it in a one system setup.
Nice.
So I went back home for a little bit, and we came back at 6. He gave me a radio. I looked at it and said, whatever's coming out of that, that's what I'm going to do. And from there, that's when the passion started. I didn't actually really do anything with music until 19. I went to school in the city for audio engineering. And then I came out just like anybody else who goes in for recording. Everybody was a DJ, by the way, and I came out as a DJ with two turntables and a mixer somebody had lent me. And that's kind of how it got started. And then from there, I did stuff at a label. I interned at a label, got a job at a label. I DJed clubs and I made my first record in 21 years old. So.
Wow, that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
What has been like the biggest highlight moment in your DJ career so far?
Interesting. I feel like those moments come every so often.
Yeah.
So like our first record was a big deal, and that actually popped off. It was a white label, and then later on, I mean, working at a major label, so I did A&R. I mean, it's just like I said, there's just one after the other. It's like every,
So stepping stones and milestones.
27 years. I mean,
yeah.
there's always like, so just to name one is a little bit hard.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What about that listener right now that is thinking about becoming a DJ, but they don't know how to get started? What kind of advice could you give that person?
That's awesome. Mentors. Apprenticing. So apprentice and find a mentor. I think that's the best way to learn. I think people like you who are in education and really have a grasp on the business is the best way to learn. So example, you can do this on YouTube University, but the biggest issue with YouTube University is everything's scattered. Who's a professional? You don't know how far they got. So I think it's good to find somebody in your city, wherever you're from, whether it's small town or a big city, and just find, ask questions. And then when you see somebody where you feel like that they run it like a business and they are a brand, I think then it's just, it's time to offer some help. And look, we pay for education, to go to college. Pay with sweat equity.
Yeah.
Help them out, facilitate some of their needs. They need a video editor, and you happen to know video editing, do it. If you can make flyers or some kind of, but try to add value to the person. Love
it. Yeah, I think a lot of people tend to reach out to folks, right? To try, hey, can you mentor me? Hey, can you, love to, can I ask you some questions, blah, blah, blah. It's all about me, versus like, hey, what can I do for you? Right, and a lot of times these people who you're looking up to, they already have so many people hitting them up on a daily basis as is. So the way that you can stand apart from all the noise is actually by providing value first.
Correct, and not even ask to get anything. Just tell them like, look, I'm at a point in my life where I want to learn, and how do I make your job easier? And I think that's something that would separate somebody who's like me. I want to do this, and I'm gonna be this, and I'm gonna do. And it's like, for somebody like you who's put in the work. There's a lot of things you got to figure out on your own.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I mean, you're a great presenter and speaker. You did that today, so that's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And those are things, that you had to kind of work on, those skills. So.
Oh yeah. Doesn't happen overnight, right?
It doesn't happen overnight. And just be malleable, like be a sponge. It's funny, I'm in kind of a mastermind group with some entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And they're very wealthy. I aspire to be like them, and all the time I'm just there, and I'm just kind of like a fly in the wall because they talk about business and things, and I just fixed one of their video issues where it had to be lights, just similar to this setup. By the way, great setup anyway.
Oh, thanks.
For mobile setup, guys, this is mobile, and it's in a room, and it's done right. So
yeah, thank you.
Attention to detail, these guys. But my point is I was teaching about the 3-point lighting, some of the camera angles, basic camera stuff, and just giving them value, and they were like, you know, and it's so everybody has something that you can give, and if you don't, like I said, sweat equity. You go figure it out, make their job easier. You know,
Absolutely.
spend time and then provide them something and listen. That's the other thing. I feel like a lot of us can speak but not really listen and take things in. So listen to what they need and try to facilitate that.
Oh man, love all that for sure. I would say that, you know, another thing is if you're looking up to a person, this is a person that's already successful in their own right, and that's why you're looking up to them and you're aspiring to hopefully become similar to them or more like them. And a lot of times these successful people, they have a lack of time. So the biggest value that you can provide, which you just touched on, is, hey, figure out to solve that problem for them so that way they don't have to spend the time to figure all that stuff out, right? Another thing I also love that you touched on was about YouTube University and how, you know, YouTube is great, but there's so much scattered information. An analogy I always like to give is, you know, could you imagine jumping into your car with a GPS, and instead of that GPS giving you the first turn direction, it gave you the 15th turn. You're like, well, that doesn't really matter to me right now, right? So it's like, I need to figure out the first turn in order to get to the 15th turn, right? But sometimes we tend to come across a YouTube video where like, oh my gosh, this is great, this is the thing, this is that silver bullet that I've been looking for, and they go to work on it, and it's like, well, it's not relevant right now. It'll work for you later in your journey, but it won't work for you right now. Right?
I love that.
Yeah.
I want to piggyback off that because you said something really interesting. This happened to me recently. My wife and I, she uses Google Maps and I use Waze.
Yeah.
So we put in the information and I'm supposed to go straight, but Google Maps is telling her to go right. So what happens when you get, just to piggyback, because it's really important what you just said, is that they're both getting to the destination, but one little turn will not get you, it won't give Ben's formula to success.
That's even better.
Just totally,
for sure.
And then I'm gonna blame Ben, when in reality I should have listened to Kova example.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
know, so if you're listening to Kova, listen to Kova. If you're listening to Ben, listen to Ben on topics, right? So, and that's why I say the mentorship is very important because you can ask that specific person, put those things to action. You're still gonna run into pain points, and I'll go back to the same person, not somebody else random. If we go to Daniel may not tell me Ben's answer. But if I keep going to Ben, then I'm gonna have Ben's answer and Ben's blueprint.
Yep.
Make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. And both ways, again, do get you to the same destination.
Absolutely.
One might take a little longer or take you on more turns or whatever else, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You bring up finding a mentor. Do you have any mentors that you had along your journey or even mentors right now? And how did you find them and, you know, essentially get them to become your mentor? Because a lot of people that are watching are like, that's cool, Kova, you know, you keep telling me about finding a mentor, but how do I do that? I don't even know where to get started.
That's a great question. So I don't know if I've ever had a direct mentor. I can tell you people that I respected and I would only go to them. So maybe I had a mentor without knowing that I was looking for a mentor. Books are mentors sometimes, like, you know, sometimes they're mentors in your head, right? I love business books. Like Patrick David is like, to me in my head, my mentor.
He's awesome.
Right? So the idea is, you know, if we're talking about a specific business and DJing, start in your city and then go from there. So what I would do is just to ask around, you know, hey, I want to become a DJ. If you go to an event, I mean, there's DJs at all the events. Ask them questions, kind of see where they're from. And then the relatability is important too. A mentor is also somebody you would aspire to be. Right. So, example, Ben is a very well-dressed man, and I admire that. I admire that. My wife would tell me, "Why am I sitting here in a hoodie next to this well-dressed man?" But
I did just speak on stage too. So.
but he's a snazzy dresser. This is good. This is a good thing. It's a great quality. So, but what I'm saying is like, look at things that you aspire to be, and if that's what that person has, then that's gonna be someone you can ask to mentor. You can be around them. And earn your place.
What do you mean by earn your place?
Be a problem solver, not a problem maker.
Yeah, love it.
Because a lot of people that want to be mentor that are a problem maker. Like you always have to fix it in their mess.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that an entrepreneur that is moving forward needs. They need problem solvers.
Absolutely. Are you able to give advice to that person then that is unclear if they're a problem maker or a problem solver?
If you, what's the saying? If you're tired of being in a hole, stop digging. If things don't work out for you, I mean, it's pretty apparent that it's not, there's a disconnect. Self-awareness is a big deal for many entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
And the ones that are elite, they're very self-aware. They're not only their surroundings, but themselves. And I think that's one thing that people don't talk enough about is know your weaknesses and then go from your strengths and work on your weaknesses.
Yeah. I just literally said that on stage, that entrepreneurship is one of the best self-development programs that exists for us. Like, as the thing is that if you fail, it falls on you, right? But if you're successful, it also falls on you as well, which means that the way that you increase the chances of succeeding and not failing is by becoming a better person.
Absolutely.
More skilled, more whatever, right?
There's lessons in that, right?
Absolutely.
Lessons in the failure. So let me ask you a question. Are
Yeah.
you a book reader?
I used to be a book reader.
Okay.
So in the very beginning of my career, I read a ton of books, and I was similar to you. So I couldn't look to my family members as examples. I actually looked at them as examples of what not to do. So my early mentors ended up being people that I read in books, right? Because essentially, if you think about it, right, it's almost like taking them out to coffee or lunch, and they're sharing their deep insights and value with you.
Absolutely.
Through their book. I mean, that's some of their best work. They want to, that's part of their legacy plan. So like, they're going to make sure that the advice in there is potent and great. And then over time, I actually, signed up, once I was able to afford it, of course, hire actual mentors and coaching programs and masterminds that I've attended. And then now, I got to a point, and this is actually another thing to kind of be careful of, there is a thing called information overload, right? And so I started becoming a knowledge junkie to the point where I was, learning a ton, but I wasn't implementing anything. So it wasn't really changing the results. And I realized now I needed to actually implement some of this information. So before I read any new books or anything, I implement on the things that I already know.
Love it.
Right?
The term that's misused all the time is knowledge is power. But it's applied knowledge.
Yeah.
Applied actionable.
I also think that saying knowledge is power came from last century, right? Pre-internet days. Because now knowledge is so easily accessible, and there's almost an overwhelm of information now, right? So that problem no longer exists. But knowledge back in the day used to truly be power, right? Because there's a lack of information share back in the day. It was only held by like the holy grail people.
So now it's information overload. Now you have to sift through what you do want to listen to and what you don't.
And the noise. There's a lot of fake gurus out there, a lot of people that just regurgitate other people's information and claim it as if they know what they're talking about.
Absolutely.
Which that's another, that's become probably the new challenge, I think, in today's age, is for anybody who's coming up, is how do you learn from the right people that are actually teaching from real experience, not from theory or from something else that they, another YouTube channel that they may have watched or something like that.
And I think the two key words where the fake gurus use is fast and easy. Nothing's fast and easy.
Yeah, for sure.
It can be sequential and fundamental based.
Yeah, for sure.
Which that could be
a lot faster than stumbling through it, right?
Correct. But fast and easy is not. And there's a level. I mean, think about it. Like, we think about inventors, right? And how many mistakes did they have to make to invent something? So that's kind of how we're doing. We're inventing or curating a portion of us, our life, our business that doesn't exist. And I feel like, and I get that vibe from you, by the way, that you're someone who's like, in a sense, a visionary, where you know where you want to go and what you're going to do, and you're doing the things that eventually catch up.
Absolutely, yeah. Speaking of inventing, you like to invent beats, you like to invent edits, right? So tell me, how did that start? I'm assuming you started just like all of us, playing other people's music. What inspired you to then start spinning it and creating your own?
That's a great question. So I always wanted to be a producer first. I was completely different than most. Meaning, my whole goal, that's why I went to school in the city. But at the time, the education was antiquated in the sense where they didn't know the difference between a producer and an engineer. So they sold it as it was a producer, like, oh, you're in this bucket. So I went to the school, and all the kids that I was with wanted to be producers, but we were in this engineering school.
Yeah, yeah.
So what ended up happening then was, we left there, and I was fortunate enough to be kind of almost just by association, because I was with the DJs, take this new craft up. But how I looked at DJing was completely different, in a sense where I was playing the music, but at the same time studying how the dance floor worked. That to me was more important or whatever. And then that's why it took me a couple of years, from 19 to 21, to really curate the sound that I wanted. And then that's when I bought the equipment, and I really spent the time to kind of learn it. So after that, it was literally just testing. So I would play people's records and I'd make mine and I'd slip them in between and then figure out if it worked or didn't. And then again, going back to the drawing board when it didn't.
Man, I can see, like, you know, especially from hip hop, right? Like, I mean, really, hip hop is the genre that raised me. There's so many iconic producers that started off as DJs, or that, similar to you, started off as producers and then became DJs, right? And I think there's a hidden power behind that, because one is, even if you're not like a dance producer where you just want to make dance music, right, or music for the club, studying how music responds, or people respond to music, right? Also digging through hundreds and thousands of records to understand beat patterns, you know, melodies and what works and how things harmonize and so forth, right? All is great research and intel for producers, I'm assuming.
At the end of the day, it's dance floor psychology. So it's how it resonates. And I think, you know, when you look at it that way, and it's just like business, right? If you start with the end in mind, work all those other things out. So think of it that way. So it's kind of a reverse way of thinking about things. And I was fortunate enough to really be blessed around all my peers that we went to school. Like, a lot of them worked for Fat Joe, Big Pun. They did records with them. And I mean, there's like a lot of people. So I could go on and on.
Yeah,
and then being at the label with all the business side of it, that was a great educational piece to it. And then being in the clubs and seeing what worked in the dance floor. So it was like a
cocktail of everything, right?
Yeah, it was like a weird combined thing of everything. And later on, I didn't realize how important that was. And then how, like, I would look at things a little differently. When people would throw something at me, it was like, I don't know. Because, you know, as a receiver of something, like, so example, like the person on the dance floor, let's look at that. They're not looking if it's in key, if your mix shifted a little and it's, right? It's how does it feel? How does it make me feel? And even when you're like, this is the best record ever, and you don't transition it well, or the record before the record after isn't good, like, you'll lose the dance floor. You'll be like, but this is the best record, and it's like, you didn't present it right. Like, how are you presenting it? So these are little things that really make you just kind of look at how I do with my students is I tell them, forest and the trees. Some people, they look at the tree, but you have to do a bird's eye view and look at the forest, and then it gives you the whole.
Love it.
landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Kova, like, why, for someone who doesn't use any custom edits at all, why would it be important for them to start looking into that?
I think there's a big disconnect, especially with the pandemic, just to let you know. So I've always mentored DJs, aspiring producers, which was the end. And the pandemic, I think, really made me see that there was a big missing part of the puzzle, which was us DJs knowing audio. We don't know when things distort. I mean, redlining, right? You're not headlining if you're not redlining.
Yeah.
So, you know, audio mastering, people talk about mastering and mixing, and then why does this sound bad, and why does this not mix with this? And there's like, it is basic audio fundamentals that I feel like us as DJs in 2024, with all the tools we have with Serato and the way it loops and stems, it's all leading into this thing where we have all the tools to create or recreate or even just edit. I mean, it's as simple as you want to make it. But we were talking about this before we started, but how long does it take for somebody to find an intro, outro to a song that there isn't one?
Yeah.
With stems, it shouldn't take that long. What about a clean edit? We were talking about that.
True.
With people playing not clean edits, right? So, and then you're gonna spend 10, 12 minutes scouring through your record pools to find it online.
Yeah.
Just make it. Takes you literally 60 seconds, 120 seconds max. Where we are, 2024 and beyond, this is the new route where it's gonna start to separate the DJ, especially now that we have the older. That have experienced the vinyl and the CD digital age and whatever. Yeah. And I feel like there's gonna be a big shift in the people that do it. And there's a lot of people. Look, like yesterday, people got to see, and I'm shouting them out because they're good friends. Scooter, Beat Breaker. Those guys started as mashup guys.
Yep.
And they're playing Vegas. Scooter's from Philly. Beat Breaker's from New Jersey. And how would you know them otherwise? So you know what I mean. There's a reach thing too.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing that makes you stand apart from the rest, right? Because everybody can use the same songs, but it's how you play those songs is what separates great DJs from the average DJ or, you know, the pool of DJs out there.
Absolutely. It's how you do it. And what if something's too long? Let's talk about this. And you're in the private event space. Playing a song too long. It's too long. This middle piece, why is it there? Man, I wish everybody loves the second part. You can't edit that. Like, you know, If I showed you, and we opened the program right now, and I showed you how easy it is to do when you know what you're doing.
I'm sure you could also use hockey, right? Like
it's literally, you know what it is? It's Legos.
Yeah.
It's literally Legos. When you put Legos together, and then you just move the red one here, and it's Legos.
Yeah. Let's say someone's like, okay, Kova, you got me. Like, I'm interested in finding out more. Like, what would be the best first steps forward of figuring out how to do this?
So we currently have an academy. I started January 2023. It was in beta then, and now it's fully launched. But it's called Tweak Music Academy. We created a course with fundamentals that makes things very, very easy for people to understand not only the process of editing, etc., but the audio portion, because I'm a mixing and mastering engineer. So it's one thing to know the arranging and some of the musical parts of it, but it's the other thing is how does it sound good?
Yeah.
And it's really not that difficult. And generally the mixing and mastering part, it was the producer, the mixing engineer, and the mastering engineer. And because I have knowledge in all three, I kind of just simplified it. So I created a course. It's a digital course. It's an actual forum where we have people that partake, and then we meet a couple times a month, and we just simplify it and keep it going. And it's very, again, what separates ours from others is it's very sequential, fundamental based, and when I say simple, I mean it's really easy. And
that's
working
awesome.
with some of the elite guys, like I've been in the studio with some bigger guys, but the idea of that is, just to, like, you see how easy these records are made. You're like, really? Yeah. But it's how does it feel? That's the question. How does it feel? And that's us DJs. We know this innately. Yeah. Right? If you didn't make people dance on a dance floor by a certain time, and this is an event DJ, this is a club DJ. There's no disparity between the two. Yeah. It's the same. It's one and the same.
If and a lot of us became DJs because of that feeling too, right? That's what inspired us to get it into the art, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we can go out and be here and see another DJ and go, wow, and admire that.
Absolutely.
Say we like it because of X reason.
Yeah. So Tweak Music Academy?
Correct.
Is it .com or?
So right now we're Tweak Music Tips, which by the way is a podcast.
Oh, cool. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast then.
Check that out.
Yeah.
Tweak Music Tips, TIPS. So that's where our podcast is, and we're building out the site and everything like that. But right now we're really just Tweak Music Tips at Instagram. That's probably the best way, and just DM us. And actually, what I want to do for you is I want to do a discount. So we're gonna.
Love it.
All right. So let's do a 20% discount for anybody who DMs us ProfitableDJ, and we'll work something out. And I think that would be super cool for you.
Thank you, man. That's generous. Yeah. So make sure to give these guys a follow. DM them ProfitableDJ, and you'll get 20% off. And I guess what's next for you? So I know you're speaking tomorrow, but like, what are you the most excited about for 2024?
So with the podcast, I know this kind of like left. There's a lot of things. So during the pandemic, we started a podcast. It's a live stream podcast on Twitch, and it kind of took off. We started with like Little John, Too Short, 8-Track, Jazzy Jeff, Scratch Bastard. It goes on and on. But
thanks, you've got a lineup, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we've also gotten some sponsorships where we work with like Pioneer DJ, In Music brand, which is Den on Rain, Newmark. Just working with the brands and understanding this thing. Like I really love the educational part, that's why I think you and I kind of are aligned.
We see eye to eye there. Yeah.
We have this gentleman, you got to follow him, by the way. But if you obviously you're following
generous.
Him.
Yeah.
But and I'm gonna ask him here. I'm gonna put him on the spot. I'm gonna interview you too. I'd love to interview you at some point.
I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Just to spread your message, because he's a very intelligent guy and he asks the right questions. So.
Oh, thank you.
So I want to kind of help the DJ culture, man. I really feel like we can do better. I feel like there's certain things that some of the part-time guys and the full-time guys, there's a big disconnect. And I don't think there should be rules, but I feel like there should be guidelines or things that we know are right or wrong.
Yeah.
Like the undercutting stuff and whatever. I mean, there's a lot of, that's a grenade to hold, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of things that we can do better, and I feel like we can learn from each other and really just, you can say DJ union and all that stuff. I think that's too, I don't know if it's realistic, but I feel like if we had some guidelines and things, we knew more about the business of music, because that's the disconnect. We're so creative that we have a operation, but it's a job. Absolutely. Versus the business of music. So as long as we can fix the culture and guide the next generation on the business of music, I think that's what's in the future for us.
Absolutely. And do you mind also throwing out your personal social media handles?
Yes, so DJ Cova for everything, djkova.com. Our Instagram is probably the most where we use it. DJ Cov as in Victor A. Just check us out there. And then Tweak Music Tips is where we put out all the content, all the interviews and stuff like that. We met up with the CEO of Twitch 3 months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had dinner with him. So that was
Awesome.
super cool. It was, me and 4 other streamers. And yeah, that was just humbling. So just to be doing things on a platform and meeting like the big dogs is kind of a big deal.
Super humbling, right?
Yeah, man,
that's awesome.
Of course.
Nice. Well, DJ Kova, thank you so much for being on the show.
Appreciate
Really
you,
your time, man.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys follow these guys and thank
And
you.
vice
Thank
versa.
you for having
Follow
us.
him too.
Appreciate you guys.